a busy first 45 minutes of the show. I don't know if it sounds busy. I don't know if it sounds as busy if you're listening in your car or if you're streaming the show on your app, but I can assure you that behind the scenes, it's been very, very busy around here on Arizona Sports. That includes doing the first 3 or 4 minutes of the show without Gambo, who was off doing the Gambo thing. We're not even really sure what he was doing the Gambo thing about. But we now have an opportunity in which Gambo's been doing the Gambo thing for basically the last 45 minutes or so. And it's Phoenix Suns related.
Yes.
What do we got here? What are we talking about?
Damian Lillard is going to get traded very soon. Okay, Damian Lillard is expected to. I'm expecting a Damian Lillard trade. What's the word? Imminently? Is that a word?
It's imminent. It's imminent.
It's imminent.
You can say it's imminent.
I would even say probably within the next 24 hours. I am expecting, from what I'm hearing, a Damian Lillard trade. Now, I will just say this. The Suns all summer have not been willing to trade Deandre Ayton because they think he fits very well. And to be honest, there were just no offers that would change that. We've reported this all summer. The Suns have no interest in – the Suns were not going to trade Ayton. Part of that is, of course, what we've discussed, is there were no good offers. They were not going to sell Ayton for 50 cents on the dollar. The market for DA was low. The value was not something. They were not going to take 50 cents on the dollar for DeAndre Ayton. Now, if the Portland trade does, and Portland did not want DeAndre Ayton, but that was based very much on they had Damian Lillard. They were not going to put DeAndre Ayton with Damian Lillard. If Damian Lillard does get traded, which I'm expecting to happen, then it'll be very interesting to see if Nurkic is on the table. I would be surprised if the Suns don't look at that, because that could be an upgrade for them and would fit Vogel's mode as a defensive-minded center who rebounds the basketball. So that'd be a defensive-minded center that does rebound the ball. So a lot of things will have changed, right? Things will have changed since June. June, July, August, September. 4 months later, Nurkic was never available to the Suns in a trade. And Portland didn't want Ayton because they had Nurkic, okay? But if Portland trades Lillard, which, again, I'm expecting a Lillard trade to happen within the next 24 hours, Portland then could look to move Nurkic, start over, maybe get themselves a 25-year-old center in DeAndre Ayton. So I am not going to rule out anything that you may have heard or people that have heard on Nurkic. Again, the Suns have not been willing to trade Ayton because he does fit well for Vogel. Vogel wants to keep him. But a big part of that, as me and you have talked about, is that there just were no offers. They were not going to trade DeAndre Ayton and get 50 cents on the dollar for DeAndre Ayton.
That was always my suspicion all summer long, to be honest with you. Every time we had a conversation about Ayton and every time we heard this sort of this love fest, honestly, with Frank Vogel talking about DeAndre Ayton. Not that it was necessarily insincere, but, it's like the old song, if you can't be with the one you love the one you're with, right? And if you're not getting the kind of offers that you feel like you need to justify trading DeAndre Ayton, then you better figure out a way to love the one you're with.
Yes.
And I think, Vogel. Now, I'll tell you that the way DeAndre played but I know it's just international competition, and I know it's not against the best competition, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But I will tell you that the way he played for the Bahamas a month ago, honestly, had me reinvigorated about the idea of what DeAndre Ayton could be on this roster. It really did. I mean, it really made me think, okay, you know what? On second thought, this is worth a shot. Let's give this a try. Let's test drive the car, take it around the block a time or two, and see how it handles the corners, right? Let's see how it handles. I can't believe I'm going to say this. I'd almost be a little disappointed if they traded him now, just because I'd want to see how he responded to a new coach. Now, look, the flaw in DeAndre Ayton is the energy and the level of want to and all of that stuff. The motor, sometimes it runs very hot, sometimes it doesn't run very hot. Would it run hot all the time for Frank Vogel? Would he become because I don't care about how many shots DeAndre Ayton gets anymore. I care very little about DeAndre Ayton's offense anymore. DeAndre Ayton, whoever plays center for the Phoenix Suns, needs to be the defensive anchor for this team, needs to be committed to being the defensive anchor for this basketball team. That is your value. That is your role. That is your place.
So let's talk about Nurkic.
Then just real quick. And if DeAndre Ayton, he's never – his level of commitment to being that guy on this roster for the last 5 years, it has wavered. It comes and it goes, and that's what makes him a bit of a risk. But I'd be lying to you and everybody listening if I didn't say I wasn't at least intrigued to see how DeAndre Ayton would have at least started with this new regime and if he would have embraced the role.
Yes. And again, I think, I think that if there is a mystery team that's involved in a potential Dame Lillard deal, I would think that the Suns could possibly be that team. And again, there was no player the caliber of Jusuf Nurkic that was available to the Suns all summer. So the Suns were not willing to move DA. They did not move him in June. They did not move him in July. They did not move him in August. And here we are at the end of September, and it's only because of a Damian Lillard trade that something like this could become available. Again, what I'm saying is that the Suns have not been willing to move DA because they actually think he fits well. Vogel wanted to keep him, and there were no offers that would change that. If Nurkic becomes available, I would be surprised if the Suns don't look into it because they could make the argument that that is an upgrade defensively, rebounding the basketball for them. That's a guy that does everything that Vogel has to have a defensive center. They were never going to trade Ayton and start, Jacques Landale or Bismack Biyombo or Drew Eubanks. They were never going to trade Ayton and not have back a quality. They were never going to trade Ayton for Buddy Hield. Like, it had to be something that made sense for them. Nurkic is still a very young player in his prime. Yeah. That rebounds the basketball, 10, 11 rebounds a game.
I'm looking. Okay, so he just turned 29 about 2 weeks ago. So he's certainly not old. He's certainly in his prime. He, over the last several seasons, he played in 52 games last year, 56 the year before, 37 the year before that, only 8 games in 2019, 2020. That was the pandemic year, but obviously so he's I have to go back and look at his injury history. I'm not familiar with it off the top of my head, but certainly there's 30 missed games this past year, 30 the year before. You're talking about nearly 50 the year before that. So there is, this is where depth becomes, let's say something like this happens. Okay, let's just let's workshop this. Let's think out loud here for a minute. Okay, now your depth probably becomes a little bit more valuable to you. Now signing Drew Eubanks becomes a little bit more valuable to you. Now the Bowl acquisition suddenly becomes a little more intriguing depending on what the coaches can unlock out of him. Certainly Chimezie Metu. And what he brings to the table. There's depth at the center position. And I only bring that up because with Nurkic, and just looking at the number of games he's missed the last few years, you might need that, right? He becomes another guy on a team filled with guys who have missed some games the last few years, right? And so you kind of have to think about that a little bit. You have to factor that in. So basically what you're telling me is, if I'm reading this right, is I need to have my radar on full alert for a Dame Lillard trade.
If a Dame Lillard trade
goes down, then we're starting to talk about dominoes falling potentially all over the place.
Yeah, there will be trades that the Lillard trade will unlikely be a 2-team 1-for-1 trade. Okay, there are 4 teams right now in on Damian Lillard. 4 teams that are in on Damian Lillard. Again, my expectations from what I'm hearing is that a Damian Lillard trade is imminent. It is going to go down. And if that goes down, you're right. That's a good way to put it. There is a domino effect to that going down. And the Phoenix Suns could very well be a part of that. You can make an argument that Nurkic is an upgrade defensively over Ayton. It would get Portland did not want DA. There were talks during the summer, and Portland didn't want him. But that was with Lillard. That was with Lillard staying. They did not want DA. If Lillard's gone, that changes a lot of things. Portland will blow it up and start over.